Good morning, everyone. A happy Friday and happy May 1st for those who forget what date it is in this very odd time we're all in. I want to begin by recognizing that we're on the traditional territory of the Esquimalt and Songhees people and thank them for the ability to meet on their land. I think most of us are starting our press conferences these days with thank yous. For good reason, there are a lot of people to be thankful for. Certainly Dr. Bonnie Henry, Minister Adrian Dix, everyone at the Ministry of Health, everyone across government who's working hard to put programs together to be able to support people, everybody from the front lines, healthcare workers, care aides, grocery store clerks, transit workers, first responders, not-for-profits, charities, and businesses. And I want to add today to that long list of thank yous to thank the media. This is a very uncertain time, and it's even more important than ever that people get reliable information, that they get access to where programs are there, where supports are there, that they know about the measures that are needed to take care of ourselves and our loved ones. We all know that many British Columbians have lost their jobs or have had their ability to be able to work severely affected by COVID-19. It's made it harder and harder for people to be able to make ends meet, to be able to pay their bills. Businesses, large and small, are also struggling to stay afloat, wondering what the future is going to bring for their business or their industry. That's why our government introduced the BC COVID-19 Action Plan with a range of measures to provide support to individuals, workers, businesses, and critical services across our province. And today, one of those measures kicks off. For people who've been let go of their jobs, or who are trying to get by working on reduced hours, we know the pandemic is weighing heavily on you and your family. Starting today, people can go online to apply for the BC Emergency Benefit for Workers. This is a one-time tax-free $1,000 payment that will provide significant help to people whose jobs and incomes have been impacted by COVID-19. To qualify for the benefit, you must be approved to receive the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. If you've applied for EI, employment insurance, because of COVID-19 after March 15th, the federal government is going to automatically assess your application through the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB as you've heard it called. For the emergency benefit, the BC Emergency Benefit, you can apply right now. The process is simple and very straightforward, and people can apply online at www.gov.bc.ca/worker benefit. For anyone who doesn't have internet access or who needs help with their application, they can start calling on Monday and we'll provide that support to them. Just so you know the interest in this benefit, as of 9 o'clock this morning, we had approximately 16,389 applications already received in the first 45 minutes. Now, this is just one measure available to British Columbians. Other supports we're providing include the rent subsidy through BC Housing for up to $500 a month for renters, and that's paid directly to landlords. There's an automatic boost of $300 a month for the next 3 months for people on income assistance or disabilities who are ineligible for the CERB. And in July, about 86% of British Columbians are going to see an increase to their climate action tax credit of up to $174 for each adult and $51 for each child. We've also taken steps to support BC businesses in this difficult time. Tax payments for everything from the employer's health tax, provincial sales tax, tobacco tax, hotel tax, motor fuel tax, and carbon tax have been deferred until the end of September. Enhanced relief for commercial property owners will see the average commercial property tax bill lowered significantly. And thousands of small businesses will see their monthly rent reduced by at least 75% through the new federal provincial Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. Now, the next phase is about to begin for BC's economic recovery, but we need to make sure that this return is done carefully to protect ourselves, our most vulnerable, and people working hard on our behalf on the front line. As you know, we've been working hard across sectors to help get people back to work safely. We're as eager to rebuild as you are. And Premier John Horgan, Minister Dix, and Dr. Bonnie Henry will be providing more details on this in the next week. In conclusion, I want to express my huge gratitude for the people of our province who've been listening to Dr. Henry's advice and staying inside to stay healthy. We know it's not easy, but we also know we all need to do this together. And we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel because of our commitment to protecting each other. Thanks, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Just as a reminder to everybody on the phone, please press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question to start. If you would like to re-queue up, and we will try and get to you if time permits. I would also ask you, please unmute your phones. You will not be audible until I call your name. First question this morning is from Lisa Euston, News 1130.
I feel like I won the lottery. Minister James, talking about getting people back to work, have asked the Premier about this, and I'm just wondering what kind of money is there. He said that people who are not able to work because they are sick over the next 3 months must use CERB and apply for that. When that 3-month period runs out, is there money in the coffers for the province to help businesses and workers who are going to have to stay home for whatever period of time when they are sick, as we realize that that is absolutely mandatory now and there's no fighting through it?
Well, I think, again, I know the issue of sick leave and sick time is something that is being worked on. And as I said, the Premier and others will have more to say about that in the next few weeks. When it comes to the existing benefits, there are obviously federal benefits and provincial benefits. The CERB benefit, as you know, is a federal benefit. The benefit we're talking about today is a one-time benefit, but there are a number of benefits that are 3 months. And as I said, the day we brought in our action plan, we'll be reviewing all of those based on how much of opening of the economy we're seeing, what kind of progress we're making. So there will be reviews, for example, on the tax deferrals as we get into the summertime to make a determination around the October 1st date. So those are things we'll be looking at as we go along.
Next question is from Richard Zussman, Global News.
One of the things this benefit, no doubt, Minister James, will help with are people paying rent. But we've heard this week from Landlord BC concerned that this isn't enough money, especially in Metro Vancouver. Is there any thought of increasing that renter's benefit? Are you concerned that this isn't enough? And we're also hearing a number of stories of people who are living in illegal suites, and their landlords are telling them, do not apply for the renter relief because they don't, I guess, want to be put in the system. What do you say to these people, and what sort of solutions are there to provide support for these people?
So just to start with the amount, that is why we're bringing in the emergency benefit for workers in the province, is to provide additional supports. We do believe people, if they've applied for the CERB, they'll be receiving the $2,000 a month. If they receive the benefit for tenants, they can get up to $500 a month, and then additional $1,000 payment. We hope will bridge that over the next couple of months. We know, as you point out, that there may be examples that are going to be challenging. We're going to work through those. I think the example you talked about with illegal suites, some of those will be discussions that will happen with the residential tenancy branch and with the Ministry of Housing. But we're going to do everything we can to be able to make sure that the supports are in place and that people are able to get through this difficult time. I think it's important to remember, again, on the timelines for these benefits. You know, they are put in place as temporary benefits, and the hope is that we start, as the economy starts opening up, you will see people able to go back to work, able to pay their rent, able to pay the taxes that are in place, and do that in a safe way.
Andrew McLeod, the Tyee.
Yeah, hi. Various jurisdictions are tying their economic recovery funding to making their economies more sustainable, more environmentally sustainable, more resilient. Before COVID-19, BC had been on that track, I think, with Clean BC. But then last month, when you announced the $1.5 billion for rebuilding, you appointed a task force that didn't have anyone from the Climate Solutions Council or anyone else who's likely to push for sort of a greener economy. And I'm wondering what the government's thinking is on that. Are we going back to the status quo, or is this an opportunity that we can do something with?
Well, Clean BC is a critical part of our economy. It's not only an environmental plan, Clean BC, it's an economic plan. And so it is linked with the economy. And we've said that often, that it's not either or. We shouldn't be looking at growing our economy and ignoring our commitment to climate action. They, in fact, are linked, and they will continue to be linked. The Premier does have a task force on economic recovery. As well, each of the individual ministers is working with their sectors to bring forward ideas on the issue. And I can tell you the Premier and the Minister of the Environment and myself met with a number of environmental groups last week to talk about some of the priorities that they want to see. So this will take all British Columbians. It is not going to be an easy process to look at coming out of the kind of challenges that we faced with COVID-19. It's going to take business leaders. It's going to take environmental leaders. It's going to take not-for-profits and charities. It's going to take every British Columbian working together to be able to look at how we help each other as we grow the economy and as we go back to economic recovery. So no one will be left out, and I can tell you that we are just as firm in our commitment to Clean BC and to environmental work being part of our economic work as well. There's no wavering on that.
Next question is from Mary Griffin, Check News.
Oh, hi, Minister. Thanks so much for taking my question. I'm just wondering, with May 1st rent due, of course, today, nonprofits are expecting that the number of those not being able to pay rent will increase. Is there any consideration, and my apologies if I missed a question that you've already answered on this, but is there any consideration to extend the protection for renters who are receiving the rent relief but will be in arrears once the state of emergency is lifted? And I'm also just wondering as well about today, we're expecting a notice on the April real estate numbers. Do you have any knowledge of where the market is at right now? Two completely different questions. My apologies.
No problem. I'll start off with the real estate piece and then come back to the rents and tenants. I expect there'll be very challenging numbers. I don't think anyone has seen the real estate market making any kind of changes except to continue to be quiet and not have activity going on, partly because of the restrictions and partly because people are paying attention. And so I don't think you're going to see strong numbers. And I think that's common across sectors. We are seeing real challenges when it comes to the economy across the globe. This is not unique to British Columbia, but we are also not immune. We're in a good position, as you heard last week, through one of the rating agencies, reaffirming again that BC is in a very good position for economic recovery. We had good fundamentals when it comes to our economy in this province, and that's going to do us well, but that doesn't take away the pain that's going to happen for sectors, for individuals, for businesses, for families. So I don't want to take away from the challenges that are going to be coming and that are ahead of us in real estate and tourism and a number of other sectors. On the rent piece, at this point, as I mentioned, a number of these programs have been put in place for a period of time, 2 to 3 months in many cases, and we'll be reviewing all of those as we review the economy opening up and to see what kinds of challenges people are facing. So everything will have to be reviewed before we get to the end of the 3 months of those programs.
Just a reminder to please press star 1 to enter the queue. Next question is from Les Lane, Times Colonist.
Oh, thanks. Minister, have you got a ballpark estimate of what the emergency benefit's going to cost you based on potentially $16 million going out the door in 45 minutes? And secondly, your $5 billion program, I think, was announced as your first step, your initial response. What are you working on subsequent second phases, given that these are all kind of temporary things, and the plan to do a very staged, careful resumption of a new normal sort of indicates this is going to go much longer than 2 or 3 months?
We put about, of that $5 billion, so all of these dollars are within that $5 billion. Of the $5 billion, we put aside about $1 billion for the direct services or direct supports for individuals. So that would include the emergency worker benefit that we're talking about today, as well as the increase in the climate tax credit that's there. So yes, we do expect that this will be well subscribed. People are hurting right now. That's why we want to make sure people are aware they can apply. But that's the amount we put aside for that piece. We are working within the $5 billion, and when it comes to economic recovery, you'll remember we again put 1.5 of that $5 billion aside for economic recovery. So those are the plans that are being worked on now. We're going through that process at this point, so we'll have more specifics as we go along. But at this stage, we're working within that $5 billion.
Next question is from Vaughn Palmer, Vancouver Sun.
Good day, Minister. A couple of things. The Premier mentioned the $1.5 billion set aside on his press conference on Wednesday, and I was wondering, is it the case that money is not committed yet? In general terms, what will it be used for? Is it for capital? Is it for operating? Is it for new programs? And when might we start to see how that will be spent and committed?
Thanks, Vaughn. Yes, the money has not been committed yet. The money is still there. We are gathering plans now, and again, the Premier will have more to talk about next week when it comes to the opening up of the economy, so I'll leave that to him. But those discussions and the work with sectors is ongoing now to look at where that $1.5 billion will be best utilized. How can we make sure that it's going directly to supporting our economy and the kind of recovery that we want to see? What are the principles that we want to put in place for that? So that will be determined obviously by Cabinet in partnership, as I said, with all of the sectors, and each of the ministers and individuals are doing that work right now. So that's still to come.
Lisa Cordasco, CHLY.
Thank you for taking my question this morning. Regarding the automatic $300 per month for people on social assistance and BC disability, there are many British Columbians on federal disability who do not qualify for that money. As people who are not employed, they don't qualify for other workers' benefits. What is your government doing to fill that crack in the system?
Well, again, there are a variety of programs, both at the federal and provincial level, and one of the principles, Lisa, that we tried to put in place was to fill gaps where there were gaps from the federal programs to the provincial programs. So there may be rent supports for some of those individuals. That may be an area where they're able to benefit. Programs and services, we put in place more emergency supports for people on disabilities and income assistance to be able to access supports there, and some of the other programs and services that have been put in place. But certainly I recognize that this is difficult for everyone, and we're going to have to continue to look at where there are people who are falling through the cracks and make sure we're doing everything we can to support them. Tina
Lovegreen, CBC.
Thank you. Actually, this fits in quite well with the previous question. Is just, we know that the CRB, the federal government put forward, leaves a lot of people falling through the cracks. So why make that part of the qualifying requirement for this, and instead of expanding it to catch more people who don't qualify for the federal benefit?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons, Tina, that I think are important. One is the need to be able to get supports to people as quickly as possible. Building a new program, building a system to be able to absorb the kinds of pressures that you're seeing on the system already in 45 minutes. You need to make sure that if we want to do this as quickly as possible and get the supports to people, which is what the public is saying to us, we need that money now. We wanted to keep the application process as straightforward as possible. And so utilizing the CERB benefit, as you may know, we pushed and other provinces pushed the federal government, and I was glad to see that they opened up the CERB benefit. So it does apply now to people working part-time. It applies to people who are self-employed, people who are contractors, people who are making a small amount of money. So they've in fact broadened the CERB benefit much more than it was when it was first announced, which means more people then are able to access our benefit. So it really was was making sure we could get the money out to people as quickly as possible because we know they need it now, and keeping the process straightforward so that we could do exactly that.
Next question is from Mary Brooks, West Shore Voice.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Overall, it's an amazing range of economic support by the BC government, and insightful, in fact, so thank you for that. There appears to be a gap still for seniors who are working over age 60, and as you know, many of them are still working because of economic need, and they may not already be collecting OAS or CPP yet on their accountant's advice, and they may be getting SAFER, and so far the SAFER qualification disqualifies them from getting that $500 rebate. So I'm just sort of wanting to point out that gap and wondering if that's something that BC Housing is looking at.
I appreciate that. And it is, we were trying to look at people who are receiving a benefit through another program and people who may not be receiving any benefit. So you're quite right. People who are receiving SAFER won't be eligible for this benefit. Depending on the amount the senior is making, they may be eligible for CERB, which means they may be eligible for this emergency benefit. So again, we've tried to make sure that we're capturing as many as we can through these programs and services. But I acknowledge there are going to be people who are unique or in a unique circumstance, and we're continuing to gather that information.
Next question is from Colton Davies, Radio NL.
Hi, Minister. The provincial carbon tax was supposed to go up a month ago today on April 1st from $40 to $45 per ton, if I'm not mistaken there, and that was put off, of course, until further notice because of this pandemic. I'm curious, is that still on the shelf, or is there an expectation to bring that in at a firm date, and does your ministry expect that increase to still happen this year? Thank you.
Thank you. Those have been postponed. There were a number of taxes that were introduced in the budget, 2021 budget, and one of the increases, of course, was to the carbon tax, as you point out. Those have been deferred until October 1st. So in the summertime, we'll be having a conversation, just as I talked about with all of our other benefits. We'll be looking at the challenges that people are facing. We'll be looking at the pressures, and we'll be making a decision then. But at this point, it's October 1st that it'll occur.
And our last question this morning is from Binder Sudjan, CTV.
Issue around sick leave again. Just wondering if the province has a sense of whether WorkSafe has or Employment Standards has received any complaints from employees saying that they're having difficulties staying at home if they're feeling the slightest bit sick.
I'd have to leave that, Binder, to the Health Minister and to the Labour Minister. I'm not aware of that work. I know that WorkSafe is involved in the discussions around sick leave, as the Premier and others are doing that work too, to look at how we can support people to be able to follow the Dr. Bonnie Henry orders that are there as well.
That's all the time we have this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.